Hey everyone, Waffles again with another Making It to Sunday Gaming, and today I'm going to talk about something, well, not the most popular right now, Age of Sigmar. To all of you who kind of saw what it first came out to be, got the starter set, saw a couple of the rules, saw there was literally just 2 pages, front and back, of rules, and that's all they gave you, and decided to, just kind of rub it off and throw it away and burn your models, and I don't blame you. It was bad. It was really bad. They didn't really give you much structure. They just said, hey, wounds are a thing, except for, there was lots of models that were, 1 wound apiece that were definitely not even close to being each other. They didn't give you a point system. They just kind of gave you a really loose, like, here's throw some stuff on the board and have fun with it. And then they made all these promises of, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to come up with a bunch of scenarios that will be balanced, with, Skaven versus Empire, and we'll tell you what models to bring, and they didn't really follow through with a whole lot of that. So it was bad. It was stunningly bad. I think it was a good idea, but execution was terrible. Then they came out with the General's Handbook, and I've got it right now, and they're coming out with another one here in a couple days. So if you're seeing this, it might be after the fact that it's already out, but I was just going to give you kind of a rundown. So if you did stop playing because you saw the 4 pages, 2-page front and back of rules and thought it was stupid, you were right. It was pretty bad. The General Handbook did bring in points, which made things, more balanced. There was still, some discrepancies and stuff like that. And then they came out with some army books, so some of the newer stuff got its own special rules and artifacts and stuff, and it started to become like a game again. And it seems like they're doing more with that. I think they do need to bring some life back to old models on the shelves, like Bretonnians. Unfortunately, I don't think those are ever going to come back. I think those are going to get squatted. Same with Tomb Kings, just because they were really stretching the last couple editions of Warhammer Fantasy Battle. And then Age of Sigmar hit, and they all exploded or whatever. And so, unfortunately, you're not going to see a whole lot of those, I don't think, anymore. I like the Tomb Kings, and I thought Bretonnia was good, but there's just not... They were having a hard time doing stuff with them before, and now I think it's even going to be harder. A couple things about Age of Sigmar, especially right now, if you are playing 40k 8th edition, very, very, very similar. One thing that Sigmar doesn't have is a toughness system, or a strength system, which I think they could have done a little bit better with, but how they get away with it is everything has a to-wound roll. So we have these right here, and these are another thing that I really like that 40k should have. Cards. And it's not for everyone, just some of the newer factions. But you have your range, how far your weapon can go, how many attacks it gets, what you need to hit, what you need to wound, how much rend it does, and how much damage it does. So basically it's across the board the exact same as 40k right now, except for instead of a strength and a toughness, they have, how much they need to wound on. So this guy's going to wound on a 3 on anything that he attacks, which seems a little cheesy. It does. But how they worked around it to where it's not terrible. It's not the greatest system. I think 40k hit it on the head with their system, or at least, got closer. Like this guy right here, has just like ridiculous amounts of wounds. And he broke. Cool. Just ridiculous amounts of wounds. Like the characters and stuff like that aren't, little characters running around with about 5 wounds, and that's what you'll see in 40k. Then you have some of these bigger characters and stuff like that where they have 20, 25 plus wounds. And these guys are really easy to take points wise. So there's lots and lots and lots of extra wounds. So when you're looking at cavalry, lots of them just have 3, 4, 5 wounds. Ogres right here, 4 wounds apiece, easy. That's how they kind of get around the damage and how everything wounds on everything. I like in 40k how they changed it, to basically, 6s are always going to wound, 1s are always going to fail, kind of thing. And I think Age of Sigmar could have benefited from that, but I don't think it's terrible overall. That's one of the big differences between the games. And that being said, the next big difference that I do like sometimes and hate sometimes, and you're really easy to figure out why, is you roll off for turn. So at the beginning of turn 1, whoever, there's a couple different scenarios of when you go first. It's if you deployed first, you get to go first, or, if you win the roll off, you get to go first, or if you have less amount of units, you get to go first. There's a couple different varying of who gets to go first. But then, so if I go first, then my opponent goes, then we roll to see for the next turn, so it's possible to get 2 turns in a row, which sounds really beneficial if you get the 2 turns in a row. But when you don't get the 2 turns in a row, then it just kind of goes back, because that can work against you. So it's, it's interesting, and then it's not, because if I have a really strong opening, I just kick the crap out of him, and he's got to get positioned, and then I go again, and he doesn't get to go, then I have another really strong turn, getting all my guys positioned and stuff like that. So, it's sometimes a little overpowering, but, it is random, so, it's hard to say it's overpowered, because there's not a whole lot of stuff that, will change it in your favor, really. So like I said, sometimes it's really great, because then, you can win turn 3, have your opponent almost tabled just because you got some really good rolls for turns, or they got some bad ones, or you got, same thing, you got tabled because they had a strong turn, you went, and then you were hoping to go again to gain some ground back, and then they had another really strong turn, and then, it goes back and forth as normal, and, okay, good-ish, but, it's one of those things, you had the chance to come back, and then you lost it, and, no fun. But yeah, and a big reason I'm trying to do all this is because I think it is a really fun game. I think a lot of people would enjoy it if they actually gave it a chance again, because I was just like everyone else. I saw the first couple rules, or the only real rules for it, played like 2 games, and I was like, this is dumb. Like, I was playing my little brother, Ogres versus Skaven, and we were doing wounds, and I think we were playing like a 50 wound game, and he outnumbered me greatly, but a couple of my big guys just stomped him. Like, it wasn't even anything. Like, I think I tabled him, like, completely, all models lost in, like, 2 turns, 3 turns, just because I got some good charges off. Either way, it was just bad. It wasn't fun, it wasn't good. But then they came out with this guy. Ew. So yeah, let me see if I can find the rule set and show you how big it actually was. Because it was nothing. When I say nothing, you're going to see it and you're like, man, that's freaking nothing. Unless you already know. Then you know exactly how much nothing there was to it. Okay. But they actually came up with a good book. Gives you some fluff, some scenarios, how to play, objectives. Okay, yeah, so here is... Yeah. A whole lot of nothing. And then they give you the points. Points based. Now, before it was just models, wounds, however you wanted to do it. They didn't really give you good structure. Here there's, okay, here's these guys, how much you can have in a unit, how much you can have total, how much points they cost, and then if they're what kind of battle, like leader, war scroll battalion, stuff like that. So that was really cool. It was kind of lame because, you kind of had to buy the book to get the points costs, but when you bought the book, you get all the points costs, which was super nice. So then they came out with some PDFs for some of the other stuff, like the Chaos Dwarves and other little guys on the back, and then they gave you this right there, list builder, which was super nice. But yeah, I can't find it. Anyways, when we're talking rules, we were talking, it had that much rules to it. This page, these 2 pages, that page, like that's all the rules they had to it, which was ridiculous. And then they came out with this thing, much larger. A lot of the rules, well, the basic rules are still all the same, but then they started giving you like actual match play, actual points. Here's how this works. Here's how this works. Here's how you're supposed to do this. So you can't just bring 5 of these guys versus 50 clan rats, because it's dumb. These guys would destroy them outright, no problem. So now there is actually systems, and there's battalions and whatever you want to call it, to where it's like, okay, well, if I bring these guys, and then I buy the War Scroll battalion that goes with it, then they get the extra powers, they get the extra weapons and stuff like that. And that's one thing I'd really like to see in 40k. Doubt it's ever going to happen, is paying for your detachments, for your extra special rules and stuff like that. There was so many in 8th edition, or 7th edition, that it was just ridiculous. Like, okay, if I take these 4 guys, then I get, the I win button. And it doesn't cost you any extra, so I just, the goal was a unit tax, but, I never thought... no, there was a couple things that were just too overpowered, and when you have to actually pay for the battalion, then it's like, okay, well, do I need the special rules more? Do I need more guys more? And it leaves you more open to more personal flavor and tactical flavor. There is a couple, it's a tabletop game. There's a couple broken armies, and I'm not really going to get into that too much because everyone argues on which ones are broken, and just really depending on your style of play, which one's going to be broken or not. If you're going to play open, or if you're playing matched, or if you're playing ITC, or if you're playing, your own homebrew tournament where you have to take so many things, and which is good because 40k and fantasy always had the broken army, the I win, like Eldar. Like, if you played Eldar and you had half a brain, you were going to win the majority of your matches. That's just kind of how it worked. If you're playing Tau and you had half a brain, you knew you were going to win more than half of your matches. And now it's like, okay, well, now everything's viable because everything can wound you and everything has a wound roll. So it's a lot like 40k, to where if you get your charge off, that's a lot bigger deal than if your unit is just super, super, super weak. Like Orc Boys always went last, and then they were contenders still. They were not the greatest, but, in a fight, they could, or at least close combat, they could always, do some damage. Now, if they get to go first, now they're actually getting some work done. So, what was probably one of the worst armies, at least down there in the bottom, is now, really viable. And that's what they did with Age of Sigmar. Again, it was a really good idea, terribly executed. Now everything can wound on stuff, but now they got the rules and everything, so now it's not as terrible. And they got the new General's Handbook coming out, and so some of the things that were a little overpowered, needed a little tweaked, they are tweaking, and they said a lot of it's going to be based off of what they've seen from tournaments and heard people complain about and stuff like that. So I really like to see some points changes in some things, some different scenarios, stuff like that, stuff to make it more fun. Because before, like, Age of Sigmar vanilla, terrible. It was the worst thing ever. It was basically like vanilla extract, like just taking a big taste of that. Don't recommend it. It's terrible. Probably get you sick, put you in the hospital. It was just, it wasn't even a game. It was garbage. It was buying models, and if you actually wanted to play and win, all you had to do was bring more models. And there was nothing that said that you couldn't. Then they came with the General's Handbook, and they got it more defined, and they brought out some more war scrolls, and got new units, and made it funner and playable again. Now there's points. Now you can actually put together an army versus another army of, varying difficulty and degree, and there is still some models that are better than others, but, it's a game, again. Definitely not underbalanced, because, it's still fairly open to where, if like you really need to play in a tournament, you can bring your super good stuff or your super fluffy stuff, and it's not going to be terrible, if you can play your army. Now, that being said, I am going to be starting a new Age of Sigmar army. So I've got one real one right now. When I say real one, I mean that's like, I've got my ogres, and I'm probably going to go to Beast Claw for most of it. I have these regular guys, but apparently, they're not in the Beast Claw. But, we'll see if there's any more detachments and stuff for them. But I do like the riders, the big guys. This is going to be like your Grey Knight style of army. Very few model count, but everything hits super hard. But I'm going to start another one, and I'm not sure if I want to do Chaos or Seraphim, and Seraphim is the Lizardmen, so it's, dinosaurs riding dinosaurs, because, why not? That sounds wicked. Or Chaos. I do have some Chaos guys rolling around. I like the sword and board, I like the magic and stuff like that. I love my 40k, but you gotta have some fantasy mixed in every once in a while, Every Star Wars fan still loves Lord of the Rings. So I think that's what I'm going to state as. If you guys have any suggestions, it's either going to be Chaos or Seraphim. I think those are the two I've got it narrowed down to, unless you can make a very convincing argument for a different army. And I'm going to do the same thing that I've been doing with my 40k, my Death Guard, is I'm going to get it all put together and get it primed and show you guys, and then I'm going to do some painting on them, and I'm going to do some videos with them, and go from there. So I really hope this kind of gives you some more information and maybe a little bit more hope for Age of Sigmar, because like I said, it was terrible, then it got better, and now I'm seeing more stuff that's going to get even better, and it's fun now. Like, I'm not going to say it's a great game now, but it's definitely fun. If you're looking for a super hyper competitive thing, maybe not yet. Maybe soon, but definitely not yet. If you're looking for a super fun game just to sit down and kill 2 or 3 hours with, great. Like, since this guy came out, and since they started doing cards for everyone, super quick references, because the books are just as bad as the 40k ones right now, everything's just kind of jumbled up, and you kind of have to flip back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, kept trying to find your rules and stuff like that. These, everything right there, you just need the card. They fit on the table, super easy. General's Handbook. This, I picked it up for 25 bucks. I think the new one's going for 40. Special edition 50, and then, you know, 75, $100 editions and stuff like that. You know, GW got to get their money somehow. But that actually made it a game. That handbook made it a game, made it a fun game, made it a playable game. Before, I can't even say it's playable. It was that bad. It was trash. It really was. But I've played General's Handbook with the General's Handbook, you know, a good 2 or 3 dozen times, and it's actually fun. They've always been close. The rules and stuff like that made it really fun and interesting, but it's never been a bad time. And I said I played like 2 Age of Sigmar games when it first came out, and those were bad times. So like I said, hopefully this inspires you to lean more towards Age of Sigmar, for sure, because I like it. It's fun. Get people playing. Like, if there's a part of the hobby that needs resurrected, it's definitely the fantasy side. So keep that in mind. And remember, guys, have fun out there.